Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Jess. So this week, Bitcoin's price action is absolutely critical. We're heading into a make or break weekly candle close as Bitcoin retests a major level of macro support. So far, we've already seen a 7% pullback, but could there be an even steeper correction coming? We'll be diving into the video today to talk about the short time frame charts and how they're shaping up as we move into that key zone, and most importantly, talking about the possibility of a bounce here, what's going to confirm that, and otherwise, when should we really start worrying about that steeper correction? Let's get into it. As always, before we dive in, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And sign up to my free Telegram for more regular Bitcoin updates. If you're a trader and you're interested in joining my VIP channel, be sure to message me down below in Telegram. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Alrighty guys, so jumping into the weekly time frame chart, let's talk about this upcoming weekly candle close and why it is so important. So I've talked about it a couple times in my last videos, but as we can see here, Bitcoin is currently retesting at the top of the weekly range, this purple dotted trend line, or the top of this sort of parallel channel that I've drawn in over here at $104.4 thousand. And we can see exactly why here on this chart this level is so crucial, because it is the level there that we saw a double rejection from Bitcoin from November and January, and that eventually led to the correction here that took Bitcoin all the way down to $74,000, right? And so flipping that level earlier on this month, pushing above there and going all the way up to $112,000, that was a really big moment for Bitcoin. And so it is going to be equally important here that when we go back down and retest the top of that weekly range, that we're able to confirm and establish it and bounce from it as a base of support moving forward. That is the only way that Bitcoin is going to be able to facilitate a extended bullish continuation here, a potential push above $112,000 and a re-entry into price discovery. Otherwise, falling back into the weekly range, we of course have a high probability of retracing these lower levels. So starting at the midline at $99,000, and then of course the weekly range low base at 93.5, where last time we retested that we fell below and we had that major correction all the way down once again to 74K. And another reason why this upcoming weekly candle close is so crucial is because it is also one of the moments where we either play out a 2021 fractal that marked the top for Bitcoin, right? We're in the exact same pattern right now. We had a weekly range, pushed above the top of that, had a deviation high, continued extended bearish divergence, and then ultimately falling back into the weekly range, we saw the top for Bitcoin, right? We moved all the way down to $16,000. And over here, we're in that exact same moment. So this weekly candle close, pushing back below $104,000, we will play out that exact pattern, losing that weekly range, potentially falling back below $93,000, and potentially marking the top for Bitcoin if that pattern or that fractal continues to play out the way it is doing right now. So we're mostly going to focus on the short time frame analysis in today's video and talk about how Bitcoin and the price action is reacting to that level of macro support at $104,000. So let's start off on the 4-hour time frame with our analysis and talk about what's going to confirm the bounce. We've got 24 hours left for this current weekly candle close, and what we want to see is for Bitcoin to flip that level, continue to flip that level as a base of support, and actually bounce from it as we retested it on the weekly time frame. So here on the 4-hour chart, there are a couple key things to note. First of all, on the RSI, our momentum, we have a downtrend right now, but this is the downtrend that has taken us from the top at $112,000 to the current point in the correction, about 7% downwards to $103,000, right? So currently, that momentum downtrend is showing us the shift in decreasing buying pressure. So we want to see that flip. That is one of the key things that we're looking out for over the next 24 hours to signal that Bitcoin is able to flip sort of the short time frame charts and actually bounce from 104.4K. And then, of course, we have this level of resistance right here at $104.5 to $105,000. So we know that it's just above the weekly range high, right? So 104.4, this resistance is at 104.5. So pushing above this level, we'll be actually able to flip the short time frame charts and again signal that bounce. So we can see this acting as a level of resistance in the past. Over here, it is a pretty strong change of character level. We've got consistent retest retests and rejections from this level over here, and actually flipping that level to support over here, right? We retested and bounced on $105,000. That is when Bitcoin was able to push upwards to 112. So retesting this level once again right now, we want to see this level flipped in the next 24 hours to become support, thereby facilitating short time frame bullish continuation to retest, first of all, $106.5 thousand, right? This next sort of change of character, flipping that level, moving back into this prior short time frame range between 106 and 110, and pushing above 110, continuing to sort of ladder up and I guess bounce, actually see a recovery from Bitcoin. All of that being triggered by a push above 105 and this RSI downtrend. Now, zooming into the hourly chart, we can see once again sort of confirmation of just how important this trigger level here at $105,000 really is. So on the hourly chart here, as we have, sort of chopped downwards and formed these lower highs, consistently lower highs and consistently lower lows, we've started to see just a tiny bit, a smidge of bullish divergence here on the hourly chart, right? If we take a look at the RSI, these lows here are starting to form a very, very slight uptrend, right? So a little bit of exhaustion is sort of developing here on the hourly chart as we continue to move downwards. And after that exhaustion here, what we've gone on to then develop in the RSI is a small and a very slight uptrend here, right? But as we've developed that uptrend, what we want to see is also the push above that first change of character level, right? Because that's confirming then momentum is starting to flip positive, but also the buyer stepping and have enough strength to even push past that first change of character level. Otherwise, this is going to, I guess, signal that despite the fact that we've seen exhaustion from the sellers, despite the fact the buyers are stepping in, it's still not strong enough to push past that very first level, right? And so it's going to obviously signal that we're very much more likely to then have a bearish continuation of rejection from that prior high level in this downtrend. So going back to the 4-hour chart, let's talk about the short time frame move downwards or the continuation downwards. If we see that rejection, if we're not able to break out of these levels here, what they're talking about, the RSI downtrend or $105,000, what are the consequences on the short time frame? So here we have a local sort of low here that we've developed from Bitcoin, right? We sort of saw this bottom here at $103,000, and that's where we've seen this tiny little bounce and potential, high time frame bounce. But just below that low there, we have a very significant volume gap here on the 4-hour chart. If I just zoom out a little bit so you can see the VRPV profile, let me zoom out a tiny bit more. There we go. We can see that just below that low, we have this very large volume gap. And that is very likely the gap then that Bitcoin will go on to fill if we have the continued short time frame correction. So rejecting off $105,000, traveling back into this liquidity zone over here, we enter the volume gap and very likely signal a breakdown, right? So a movement back to fill the gap and move towards $199,000, right? Or not 199, 100,299,000, right? So that is also the midline of the weekly channel as well, right? So that dotted trend line that we mapped out on the weekly chart, that is the exact level that we're looking at the retracement towards. So again, providing more confluence even on these shorter time frame charts that those levels of significance are prevalent across all the time frames. Moving over onto the daily time frame as well, what we'll see if Bitcoin continues to reject and we don't manage to get a candle close back above the weekly range, and we have that sort of macro breakdown, is on the daily chart a bearish continuation within this current liquidity zone, right? So in my last videos, we talked about how moving into this zone from 105 to 101,000, it would be more likely than not that Bitcoin will continue to travel within that zone, sort of making that weekly candle close even more crucial. And so that is what we'll exactly continue to see if that weekly candle range is lost. Closing below $104.4 thousand, Bitcoin is likely to move towards 100K, the base of this, and once again that black line at $100,000, where historically, if we manage to establish that level as support, we have generally triggered new all-time highs. That's exactly what we did over here. But also falling back below that level, we have generally triggered a move all the way down to the base of this sort of daily chart range. That's what I'm going to call it. It's not a parallel channel, it's just a range where generally that movement below $100,000 triggers a correction, a very sharp correction usually for Bitcoin, right back down to 93K. Now, wrapping up the Bitcoin analysis there, let's take a really quick look at the rest of the crypto market by taking a look at a total chart. So just as Bitcoin is in a really, really crucial position right now, the rest of the crypto market is similarly seeing that sort of really crucial edge of a cliff sort of position, right? So taking a look here at a daily time frame, we can see that most recently the corrections across the market has taken total 3 to retest $3.2 trillion. And that was sort of a level of, I guess, resistance established over here, right, in these equal highs. We can see that sort of zone acting as quite an important level as a change of character, but rejecting off that resistance, we saw the correction and then reclaiming it as a base of support over here in this more recent segment of price action. We can see that total went on to sort of retest these upper levels of resistance, right? And altcoins were finally rallying and things were looking really, really good. And now, after all the correcting, we're currently retesting that level once again as support. So if Bitcoin does break down on the weekly time frame, we risk a correction naturally across the entirety of the crypto market. And what that could look like then is a continued bearish retracement to retest this prior low here, right? We had a previous sort of uptrend that we've just lost on total, and we'd go down to retest that level as support once again. So potentially risking another 8% correction across the entirety of the crypto market. Alrighty guys, that is a wrap on the analysis for today. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And join my free Telegram for more regular Bitcoin updates. If you're interested in my VIP trading channel, don't forget to message me down below on Telegram. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!